Oh,
I
absolutely.
think Nan calls it free counseling.
Yes, she does.
So, and it's based on topics, all kinds of them. We're in our almost done with our seventh
Oh
year.
my gosh. I know,
Oh, I
right?
still remember the day at Village Inn that
I so
that
do
I
too.
pitched the whole idea to you, and you said, "Oh no, I can't do that." And look at you now, it's almost 7 years, and you're getting all comfortable finally, right?
I finally, a
Yeah,
little bit
finally are.
comfortable.
This is Dr. Angel Falzone, PhD, licensed mental health counselor, the counselor that has space in the front of our church building. And we're doing that building together, and that's really good with our church and your business. And God has blessed you profusely in the
Yes,
last two
it
years, right?
has like
It's
built from
grown like
the
crazy, built
ground
from
up.
nothing, right?
From nothing to like multiple therapists and
Right.
full schedules, and we have all kinds of stuff going on in that building, from groups to families to virtual reality to psych testing to therapy. Like, we are doing it all.
And my son used it last night and a couple nights ago to teach a law class
Yes,
from
he
there
did.
for because it's his Texas State job teaching business law. And so all kinds of stuff go on in that
We
building,
sure
right?
do. We sure do. We
And
even party in that
we
building.
do, yeah. And so you need to come and get acquainted. Sunday morning would be a good time. 10 a.m. is our service. We don't ever talk about that on Go Yard, but it is 2058 Weaver Park Drive. And they can look up your business by going to drangelsdevelopment.com.
Sure can.
Yeah, how about that? I got it right.
You sure did.
And they can call in and set an appointment at
727-501-6557.
there you go. She knows her phone number. So that's good. No, we are just blessed. God has blessed us so much in these few years doing this show, and also in the last 2.5 years um, remodeling and moving into a new facility, and we're excited about what God is doing. So let's talk about our new topic tonight, because we have all kinds of topics. Some of them are on our website,
Mm-hmm.
which is goyard2014.org.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are right here on tantalknetwork.com by going to open the podcast and go to Go Yard, and there's
Yes.
a bunch of them there. And we just encourage people, and we're gonna put some of them on our YouTube channel. We're working on that, getting that done. So, but right here, Tommy's in there, and he is recording right now on YouTube. So we're on Facebook Live, but you can go to YouTube, open it up, and go to Tantalk Radio/live, and grab us right there too.
Yes, can.
Okay, so there's all those ways. Let's talk about our topic:
So the title to tonight's show is When to Let Go.
when to let go.
Yes. And really, it was spawned by, and I'm going to read it because it was spawned by something I had read on social media, and have been really hearing this theme in the counseling room a lot, or just with people in my life. So you can forgive someone and yet not want anything to do with them.
Hmm.
And so, when to let go and forgiveness, I think really they go hand in hand.
They do.
And I think there is still, no matter how many times we talk about it, there's so much misunderstanding in the area of forgiveness.
There is. And I think one of the misconceptions is people think if I forgive, that means it's okay with what they did to me.
Absolutely, that's what people think. So I want to read from.
Boy, you're just loaded here with
I
quotes
am.
tonight.
It's not a quote, but this is how forgiveness is kind of defined in the psychology world. So this
Oh,
is kind
let's
of
get
like
that.
in a clinical document. It says psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious,
Okay.
deliberate decision
Hmm.
to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness.
That's exactly right. So a conscious, deliberate decision to release
Mm-hmm.
feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings of what?
To release feelings of resentment
Ah,
or vengeance.
of
I would
resentment,
add anger to that,
vengeance, or anger.
to a
Okay.
person or group who has harmed you,
To the person or group who has harmed you.
whether or not they deserve your forgiveness.
Okay. Um, who has harmed you? Okay. So, do you at all in your practice now that's been going on 2+ years, um, do you find that people have a hard time forgiving and letting go of things?
Oh my goodness, yes. A People have a hard time forgiving when somebody asks says I'm sorry or asks for forgiveness. A lot of times they're like, okay, I forgive you or I accept your apology. And then I keep hearing, oh, well, in 2005 you did blah, blah, blah. Like they bring it comes back and hashed up, especially like in families and marriage kind of thing. They keep bringing it back.
Keep
Says, we
bringing it
didn't
up.
forgive it. We didn't let that go.
Right.
But when someone hasn't recognized they're wrong, I have a very hard time with people understanding the concept of forgiveness at that point.
Okay, so do you think that a person has to understand their part of the situation in order to truly forgive the other person who harmed them or wronged them?
Well, I mean, it's very helpful to
I would
understand
I
our
would be
part.
helpful,
Absolutely.
right?
Like
But
that
don't you
helps us
think a lot
grow.
of people don't? That's my point, what I'm trying to get to.
Absolutely. You're right. A lot of people do not recognize what I contributed, if I contributed, what I
Sure.
contribute. And sometimes what we're contributing is by an act of passiveness or not setting a boundary or, doing something earlier. I know we use this quote all the time on this show, Maya Angelou, but when people show you who they are,
Right.
believe
Believe them.
them.
Right. The
you know,
first time.
yes, the first time. And so often, we see somebody and they have this ugly behavior and we're growing a friendship, a relationship, whatever, and we just kind of disregard it. And then, we get hurt and our feelings are hurt and how did this happen? So,
Hmm.
like, yeah, when we have things go down, like, there are things, a lot of times, not all the times, there are certain things but we do have some responsibility.
We do. I think in 2018 or 2019, and these shows would be on our website and Tan Talk Network, we did a 4 or 5 part
Hmm.
series called Red Flag Blindness.
Yes, we did.
And we need to resurrect that whole thing because it goes right along here with this topic, don't you think?
I agree.
Because so many times people are showing us who they are. The red flags are there, and we are like, it's okay because I love her,
Right,
whatever.
we dismiss it. We think we can change them. We think it'll just go
Yes.
away. Whatever is what's happening, but you're right, and we ignore it. So often when I'm working with people who've been hurt by other people, which happens a lot in counseling,
Yes.
we go, well, what's in hindsight? What can we take, knowing what you know now? What could you have done differently to not have
Hmm.
that situation be what it is? And it's not meant to bring guilt or shame or to make someone
Just
feel,
to get a
but
different perspective,
it's a
perhaps.
different perspective. It's a critical way to look at a
Right.
situation
Yeah.
so that I don't continue to walk into another one that looks just like
Just like
that.
that. But
Right?
people do,
They
though. I
do.
want to bring that up, but go ahead. Go ahead.
No, they do. And
Finish
so
that.
that hindsight, so we go back and like, what flags were there? Can you
Hmm.
remember what they were? And how, we just kind of go back and reprocess some of that.
Are people, do they find it difficult to remember those flags, those red
You
flags?
know, that's such a good question. And honestly, no, they know what they were.
They
And they're
know.
very conscious and aware of, oh, well, the first time I met them, they were mean to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now if you meet someone the first time and they're mean to you,
Right.
maybe this is not a person we want to continue pursuing a relationship with or whatever it is. But there are flags that they can
Okay,
identify.
Dr. Angel, I'm going to pick your brain on this. How
Okay.
many times do people get out of a marriage, a relationship, whatever, with a very toxic individual, let's say an alcoholic who is
Hmm.
not going through treatment and is not sober, etc. And they go and find the same type of person again very quickly. How often does that happen? Do you see that in your practice? And if so, why?
First of all, it happens very often.
Okay.
I don't have a research percentage, but it's very common for that to happen. Why? Because we haven't reflected and learned from the experience we had. And so we learn and grow when we reflect and process our experiences. Like that's how we grow. But when I'm blame, oh, you're at fault, you're the bad person, you hurt me, you, now you're the problem. So if I get rid of
You,
you,
I'm
the
good to
problem's
go. And
gone.
then I can start over and have a fresh start and find someone just like you.
Right. So the
That's
problem is
not what they're
gone. But the
thinking,
problem
though.
is not all one sided. And so we do have to look at what did I allow? Maybe I allowed people to treat me poorly or speak to
Mm-hmm.
me,
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
what I contributed. Or maybe I should have walked away from this earlier. Or maybe I shouldn't have had engaged in it or whatever it is. We need to process that. And what were the triggers? What were the flags? What are how did it make you feel? Like, so we can not do this again and again and again and again.
Okay, so what I've heard for years from people, and as a counselor of, I'm a pastor counselor, but don't do that much anymore counseling, but is that I'd say to somebody, okay, and they're telling me all these awful things that are going on. Why are you still there? Why are you still in that? Well, I can't be alone. How often is that a problem that causes people to stay or get back into very dysfunctional relationships?
Very common, and that I don't want to be by myself or I don't want to be alone. Very common when it comes to like romantic relationships. Um, and so they continue dealing, having these problems, and they're the victim of it, right? Because it's you again. And but we're not, so we're on a circular kind of merry-go-round, just kind of going around the same problems, and we want it to be different. Like that's the definition of insanity, right? Doing
Sure,
the same
yeah,
thing and wanting, different. It's not going to happen that way
right.
until we do something different.
But the person who's sitting there telling you their story and they're emotional about it
Mm-hmm.
because it hurts.
Sure.
And they've been cheated on, let's say. Let's just pull that out of the air.
Sure.
They've been cheated on, and did you think that whatever happened with this person? Well, yeah, I saw how he acted and around this friend of mine and that friend of mine and da 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 da. And then I heard that he had done this with da 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 da, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had kind of an awareness going in, yet you went ahead and pursued this relationship.
And
How often is
that
that the
happens a lot of
scenario?
times because we want to
Yes.
ignore it and think we can change them, or we're different, or it won't happen with us. And so we
But that's like lifting us up. Like, you're not going to cheat on me just because you did on her or whatever, right?
right. And so often, and so I'm going to kind of go on the other side, that the person who was the cheater on the other people, they are blaming the people they cheated on. Oh, they didn't love me. They didn't give me what I needed. So this
Yeah.
can't happen now because you're giving me what I
Oh,
need. And,
sure. Yeah.
and so we have this kind of thing happening. But
Hmm.
the thing that's happening is causing so much hurt and pain. And then we start building up this anger, this resentment, this unforgiveness. And it's literally toxic to us.
Yes. Yes. It is.
And then like going into family of origin issues, like so when we have like our family, our
Family of
blood,
origin
our
issues. Do you want to explain that to our listeners? I mean,
so yes, when I'm talking about our family origin, it's our blood family, our our parents, our siblings, our uncles and aunts and
where you came
grandparents.
from.
So where
Yeah.
you come from. But some people believe that just because we share some bloodline, that I can treat you however I want, and you have to keep talking to me and doing for me or whatever it
You
is.
mean they don't?
Because we're family. That's what family has to do. You have to for
Yeah.
life.
So you have that obligation forever, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And what's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's totally not true.
Why?
Because we're the gatekeepers of our lives and our hearts.
Gatekeepers of
The
our
gatekeepers.
lives.
We
You're
decide.
going to have to explain that term to our listeners. I like that term,
Do
but
you like that?
yeah, gatekeepers. Yeah. Go
No,
ahead.
and I know I'm talking super fast tonight too,
Boy,
because
you are.
I'm like
You're
really
talking
fired
really
up
fast
about this.
Wow. Give it to us, Dr. Angel. Come on. What gatekeepers? Well, we're the gatekeepers of what?
Well, we're the gatekeepers of our hearts, of our emotions, of our mental health. Like we decide who and what we're going to let into our lives, and how much, and at what distance, and at what capacity and quantity and quality and all of that. And so when somebody is treating us poorly and we keep letting them in, we're going to keep getting hurt. So we want them to do all the changing to stop hurting us, but we have that personal responsibility to say, if I change where this person is in my life, it changes the whole dynamic. They can't continue hurting me.
Right.
So instead of learned helplessness and being this victim mentality,
Learned helplessness. Okay. Go ahead. Victims. But there's a lot of people that really kind of enjoy that role.
oh, you are so correct on that.
Because it gives them something to complain about at the family gathering, or where's Joe? Well, Joe is rah, 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 and then they just trash him to the whole family, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff. But for a moment, people are going, "Oh, you poor thing. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, he's treating you terrible." And they get the attention, they get the sympathy, right?
Sure do. And there's that payoff. We talk a lot about what the payoff is and things. What benefit are we getting from a bad situation, so to speak, is what we're meaning. But yep, and they like that attention and that sympathy and that empathy and that compassion. And so we kind of keep that merry-go-round going in that same direction. But and I hear constantly, especially in the counseling room, like this person's doing this to me, and I have to you have to do what? Like I had someone, oh well, my mom calls me constantly, and I have to answer her call. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. And I'm like, so, is somebody putting a gun to your head? Because that's really the only time we have to do something like, right? Like when we're being forced, right? Our
Right.
life is on the line. And I know it's kind
Gun
of
to
silly
your head,
to say
yeah.
it that way, but let's
No, that
back
is
it
a good
up.
example because a lot of times we feel like we have an obligation to answer every call
And
or
be on
whatever.
someone's beck and call, whoever it is,
Exactly.
just parent,
Right.
spouse, you, whatever. And she's like, well, I have to. And it ruined my whole, time at the beauty salon because she just wouldn't stop calling and telling me. And I'm like, well, why don't you just not answer the phone?
Right.
Well, I can't do that. Well,
Why
why
not?
can you not do that? And so it just kind of stops there. But that's that learned helplessness. And I do sometimes get a little graphic when I am describing this concept, but it's literally when we're going to that length, we're allowing someone to put us on a leash like a dog, and we are at their beck and call, but we are allowing that to happen.
So that hence the term learned. They've learned this behavior. They are helpless to change it because they are somehow bound to that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Because back to your point a few minutes ago, there is a payoff for that behavior,
Sure.
right? And the payoff is something that makes them feel needed,
Or good or
get attention
something.
from the whole
Sure.
family.
Yep, there's something in it. There's always that kind of payoff realm, and I don't use always a lot. You know that about
You
me. So
don't, yeah, you always don't use always very
I
much.
oh no,
That's right.
but that's that still. So when we talk about personal responsibility and reflecting when it comes to forgiveness, when someone hurts us, even if we have allowed something that opened that door for those things in some area of our life, if it's letting not setting our boundaries and not answering that call, or keeping them closer when they shouldn't know the details of our life because they're not trustworthy, or whatever it is, we still have a personal responsibility there. And most people want to ignore that and only focus on what this other person's doing to us and how bad they are, instead of what can I do to change this. People don't walk into counseling with this situation to say, Dr. Angel, what can I do to change this bad relationship in my life?
No, they don't, do they?
No, they
They
do
come
not.
in to say, you would not believe what I'm going through,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And
Wow. 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago, we did a show on personal responsibility.
mm-hmm.
And now here we coming back around again because the title today is When to Let Go. Let go of what? Your feelings of resentment, anxiety, anger, frustration,
bitterness.
or to let go of the unforgiveness that you might have
Mm-hmm.
had, or to let go of a relationship. Because sometimes it is just plain toxic.
Yes.
I like that term. I like the term toxic because it infers that, okay, if I continue this route, it's poisoning me in some way, right?
Yes.
And it is hurting my self-esteem, or it's hurting I don't have any peace at night. I can't get to sleep because I'm trying to figure out what I can do about this toxic situation, right?
Yes. Absolutely. I have a quote and I wanted to find it and share it, because it talks about, sometimes it's more painful to put a relationship back together in our life. I mean, it causes us more damage, and then trying to put something back together that doesn't need to be together. And I think I have it right now. Come on, come on, come on. All right. So relationships are like glass. Sometimes it's better to learn to leave them broken than try to hurt yourself putting them back together.
And boy, isn't that the truth? Have you ever broken a glass in a picture frame and you think, oh, I can fix that,
Yep.
or some memento is broken, and when you go to pick it up, you cut yourself
Yep.
all
It
up.
slices you up a little bit, and it's damaging us. And so, I get that
That's a
question.
good quote.
Isn't that a good
Yeah.
quote? That's why I really wanted to share it,
I
because,
think you need to share it again in a minute.
okay,
Go
after
ahead.
the break.
You don't
I'll
forget
wait
it.
till after the break
All right.
because I have to find it back on where I had it. But the long and short of it is, I think people start saying forgiveness means I have to keep this relationship together.
I think that is a common feeling about what forgiveness is that it has to go back to the way it was before the hurt
Yes.
or the event.
Because that's what they think forgiveness looks like. And know that that has the relationship status has nothing to do with our ability to forgive them. We can forgive and still stay in relationship, or change the dynamic, or not have them in our life at all, but still forgive.
Okay, those are some interesting options that we're going to talk about here right after the break. But before we do, some of you that are on Facebook and maybe even YouTube can see my shirt, and it says Tampa Bay Rays. And on the back, Tommy, it says Go Yard, because my sister and brother-in-law gave this to me about the, see, I'm going to turn around. See, Tommy?
Yep. Hey, yeah, nice.
Right?
Isn't that nice?
So I don't know about y'all, but I am totally a Rays fan through and through, and you pretty much are too.
Mm-hmm.
But I watch them like faithfully, right? And
I know that.
last night was like, oh, I thought they were going to pull it out, and then they didn't right at the end. But I mean, they're just amazing guys, and we have a great team. And go Rays, guys. This community really needs to support our team because they are number one in the American League and have been. Yes, they have been for a while. I mean, they're doing great, guys, and I'm just excited about that. We named this show "Go Yard," which means hitting a home run in life, because that's what we feel like we need to be accomplishing every day,
Yes,
right?
hitting those home runs in our lives.
And so that just goes along with the fact that we live in a community with an amazing baseball team, and we should be all very proud of them and support them. And with that said, let's go to break, Tommy. I think we need to do Walking on Sun. Oh, no, I guess we're not doing that. I guess not. Okay.
Tampa Bay's Tan Talk. Entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
Dr. Angel Falzoni specializes in a variety of therapeutic areas, including trauma, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, stress management, self-esteem, interpersonal relationships, ADHD, behavioral addictions, as well as spirituality.
You don't have any of those
While
shirts for the
native
rest of the
holds
staff?
Multiple degrees, including a bachelor's in education and philosophy, a master's of arts in professional counseling and marriage and family therapy, and a PhD in psychology. Dr. Angel is also a Florida licensed mental health counselor. She has worked with youth and adolescents for 14 plus years and has worked extensively in women's mental health for the past 6 years. She has worked in agencies providing mental health services to family and youth at high risk. Dr. Angel is an accomplished psychotherapist who works with children, teens, adults, couples, and families. Dr. Angel has advanced training and experience in working with LGBTQ specific individuals and issues. Dr. Angel can help you. Just call for an appointment at 727-501-6557 or online at drangelsdevelopment.com. Dr. Angel Falzoni, support for individuals, couples, and families. 727-501-6557.
Prompt professional service is what you will receive when you allow Marcia McAllister of Charles Rittenberg Realty to help find that perfect home or list your home for sale. With over 23 years of experience in the Tampa Bay area, you will enjoy a smooth transaction from start to finish. Call Marcia today at 727-417-0707. Now is a great time to buy or sell a home. Call Marcia McAllister at 727-417-0707.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
That song, Dr. Angel. Tommy and I have not heard that before.
So the song is all about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it's all about, that's where our healing comes from when we are hurt. It's not, our healing doesn't always come from the other person asking, and letting me know that they are wrong. Forgiveness is for me, and it's my healing comes through that release of bitterness and anger and all those negative feelings. And then I can live in the open when I've achieved that, forgiveness.
And that you just hit on something very important, because I think a lot of people, by the way, welcome back to the second half of Go Yard, and I'll finish my sentence in a moment. We're glad you're joining us tonight. Our topic is when to let go, and it has to do with forgiveness, and it has to do with just moving on, whatever that might look like in whatever situation. So I think a lot of people, Dr. Angel, they get caught up in the expectation and hope that the other person will see that
they'll recognize the error of their ways.
Exactly. And they'll come basically on bended knee to say, I cannot believe I hurt you like that. And it's been my personal experience, since I've lived a couple years longer than you, that rarely happens.
That does rarely happen.
Why?
Well, because first of all, a lot of times when people don't realize that they've hurt us to the degree that we're hurting. Mm-hmm. Second of all, people have a hard time seeing how their actions are impacting other people. So unless we're self-reflective,
right,
we're not really looking for what have I done that's could have caused someone else harm, and then asking to reconcile that with that person. Most people aren't in that level.
Well, I think one of the reasons they're not is because most people, and this is a very broad statement, are very preoccupied with themselves.
They are very preoccupied with themselves and their own experience. And so with that being said, they're not considering where their feelings or where their actions have caused someone else harm in some kind of way. And actually there was another quote about that I read that really kind of frustrated me, and I don't know if I can find it that quick.
It frustrated you?
It did, because this is way I think a lot of people here, I think I can find it. So this, I think, is how a lot of people, at least that come into the counseling and sessions, like they feel is people will provoke you until they bring out your ugly side and then play victim when you go there. So people think that my ugly side doesn't have to show. You can provoke me, but I control my ugly side.
Right.
So they feel justified in that. So they're not seeking forgiveness because some way you disappointed them, hurt them, let them down, provoke them. And so they just reacted to what you did. And so we have this web of bad feelings, negative behaviors, and all this bitterness, resentment, anger, frustration, and unforgiveness happening.
So it goes back to the blame game.
The blame game.
Because so often we feel justified because we are blaming that other person for causing us to have that temper tantrum.
Sure. Because they provoked or did something to initiate it. But at the end of the day, again, back to personal responsibility.
It is. Here we are again. And we thought we weren't going on with that.
Yes.
But really, that is the goal here, because, and this is not something that most people think much about, Dr. Angel.
No, they do not. They do not.
They don't sit around and go, okay, wow, that was hurtful. What did I do that I could have... How could I have made that situation better? They don't.
Right.
They call 59 of their closest friends.
And will you believe what X did? And da-da-da-da-da-da, and you shouldn't talk to them anymore because they're bad and toxic, and they throw out narcissists. I hear everyone's calling everyone narcissistic these days. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have.
So
and
if they get mad at
because
someone,
a lot of people don't even know that it's not what you're observing.
it's not at all what they think it is, but they want to
Tell them
throw
what
out that.
narcissists are.
Well, we will add that into our show next week because I
Okay.
want to give that justice.
All right.
But they throw out that, they're just a narcissist every time someone hurts our feelings.
I hear that all the time too.
And so that's a way I can project back to you and not have to look at me now. Like, so, we have this culture of us, I feel like a lot of times we're very fearful to kind of reflect back in to our own life, our own choices, to take our own power when it comes to forgiveness. When it comes to this area, we play helpless and we play the victim, and we, of course I acted, bad because you provoked me to act bad. So you're the victim because I acted bad. No, you acted bad. You don't have to do that even when you're provoked.
Right.
We still have choice of how we respond, like react versus respond. We talked about many shows of that.
We've had shows about that many times, reacting versus responding. So for the person out there that's saying, well, you don't know the situations in my life and how this and this one and that thing has happened and I always get hurt. Okay. I'm always caught in the middle of the latest family garbage or whatever the case may be. What do you say to those people?
Well, I use this quote a lot, and I know I've said it on the radio a few times, but we do not have to attend every disagreement or argument or fight we're invited to. Take yourself out of the mix.
You don't have to attend it?
No.
But what if you got an engraved invitation? Come to the latest Family Feud.
Take yourself out of the mix. If it's, toxic, if it's negative, it's take a break. It's okay not to engage it.
How do you do that when you're at the family dinner and something erupts and people are, blah, blah, and you find that you are defending your position on something and everybody's going, are you crazy? No, or whatever the case may be. And suddenly you're feeling like you're the victim and you're
ganged up on.
You're ganged up on. What do you say to that?
Well, I would stop engaging. I would, I'd have to stop the damage and kind of get back a hold of my feelings because that feels very overwhelming in the moment.
It feels overwhelming. You want to just strike out.
You want to react, right? You want to just go in the moment and go with the feeling, and they all deserve whatever it is they get if you, curse them out. I can't tell you how many times I just cursed them out and they all deserved it. But we have to get back and get a control. So when we're feeling our feelings are getting triggered, it's our job to stop that and maybe remove ourselves altogether. Leave. Go outside, take a walk, get in your car and drive, stop it, collect yourself, and then decide what do I need to address, if anything, or what else can I do to, resolve this in a positive way.
And sometimes the best thing to do is to remove yourself from the situation, because it's when we stay in a heated situation that we react and say things we later regret.
And then it blows into this horrible mess. And, and that's where having this personal boundaries about our relationships with how we teach them how to treat us, right? So
whoa, you're gonna have to wait a minute, get the bell. See the bell?
I see the
bell. Now
bell.
Say that sentence again.
We teach people how to treat us.
We teach them.
We do.
Now some people may be listening to this and going, now wait a minute, no, I would never teach somebody to treat me bad. But we do, even subconsciously.
Yeah, by what we allow, right? So like if somebody's yelling at you and you're staying engaged in that discussion, you're teaching them it's okay to yell at you or berate you or put you down.
Right.
And so that we don't think about that's what we're doing. We just are angry about what, being yelled at or berated at or being talked down to, but we're not thinking, but I'm staying in this moment, I'm staying engaged with this. And so we are teaching them that that's okay. Like, I know we talked about my boys a lot, but my kids always knew that if you raised your voice to me, the conversation was over. If you used disrespectful words, the conversation was over. There was no keep it going. It was done. I'm out. I left the room.
Exactly.
And so they've not raised their voice and yelled at me because it wasn't tolerable. There was nothing that was going to happen.
Why is that disrespectful?
Well, first of all,
because this is a common family dynamic.
It is.
In a lot of families. I won't say the fact that you're Italian, but
we're passionate.
Right. I mean, and that's an excuse. That's not.
I'm just teasing.
Right. We're just teasing with that. But I mean, a lot of people feel like that's the way our family talks. We just talk like this, and we just have a point to make, and rah, 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 rah. And that's how we talk. And what's wrong with that? Well, I don't know about y'all, but that's not very relaxing.
First of all, so
it wasn't even relaxing when I just did that.
I know imitation. Your face got super red. Right. Like I could see, like, right. So what was happening? It raises your blood pressure, your heart rate. Like, so it hits the limbic system. And we've talked a lot about that in our brain, but that's when we kind of start bypassing logic, reason, common sense, and emotional regulation. So now we're having these arguments, fights, discussions loudly, and we're not in a reasonable part of our mind. So it's not going to be reasonable. And so nothing can get accomplished as soon as we start raising our voice. Mm-hmm. And so that's when we put the brake on. Stop. No, I've always been this way, but you don't have to do it that way. And you're right. I am Italian, and I was raised in an environment like that and was told, oh, that's just how we are. But that was not what walked into my life. Does not allow that. That's right. My boundary.
So you did not raise your 3 sons to be that way, and that is not acceptable behavior.
And not only did I raise them not to, but I never did that to them either. It goes both ways.
Right. So I believe a lot of people will use family dynamics as an excuse to behave poorly.
Mm-hmm.
There are pros in our families who know how to get to us.
Yes, they do, because they know us very well and intimately. They've known us for a long time.
They know what hurts.
They know, right. They know those things. They know the buttons to push.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They can call you names. They can call you stupid. They can go, you're just ignorant, or you don't know the truth, or whatever. And for some of us, when that is said to us, we react, right?
Sure we do, because it is hurtful, and it does not, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but we need to learn to, when we're feeling that way, to stop and get out of that situation, not continue in it, and get some reasoning, get some control over ourselves, and then think about what next step needs to happen.
Because generally speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong. So I'll just tell you right now. So, generally speaking, when we are prodded or poked at, the person, whether it's family member, spouse, or whatever, wants a reaction.
They're looking for that, because that reaction is power.
It's power.
Right.
Because then they can say to you, well, you can't control yourself. What's wrong with you?
Well, but as soon as they get that, they now have control over you.
Mm-hmm. How? Explain that.
Well, you go out of control and you release your control to the other person. So now they know how to manipulate your emotions, your feelings, your reactions, your behaviors, and they have that control.
Just like when I was imitating that a minute ago and got red-faced and, it's people around us, whether you're married to these people or whatever, they know that button that will get you to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you act like that, folks, then they've got something on you.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, you're out of control. Are you okay? What's wrong with you?
I'm going to tell you my new favorite one in counseling. And by favorite, I mean it's not my favorite. It's absolutely ridiculously absurd, and it annoys me. When now they're taking their phones out and recording the other person so they can bring it. Oh, look what they've been doing. Like, that's not okay ever.
They'll bring that to counseling?
Oh, they'll bring it to the counseling, and they're telling on the other person. A lot in family and marriage. I see this all the time. And I'm like, no, that doesn't come in here. That's not okay to ever do to somebody.
No. Especially if they don't know that they're being recorded.
Exactly, because they're not paying attention to it, because they're so in the moment and angry or whatever that they're just kind of,
Well, and they're looking for something to bring into the counseling office so they can ha, 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 ha.
Right. And a lot of times when I work, especially in any kind of relationship counseling, they're always looking for the counselor to agree with them and align with them. I'm right, you're wrong, kind of thing. And and I can't tell you how many times I say
Triangulate.
exactly. Ooh, look at you.
I
That is it.
know. That's
I tell
really,
them.
it's a counseling term. Do you want to explain triangulate?
Sure. We triangulate in a relationship when we allow a third party to intervene in a way that we're trying to get them to take our side.
Right.
Happens all the time in relationships, families, friends. So, I had a falling out with this friend. Now I'm calling our other mutual friend and letting them know all the bad things so they can align with me and not like that person too.
Exactly.
And so it causes all kinds of havoc. And so when we talk about family dynamics and forgiveness, there can be a lot of really deep hurts in these family dynamics. You're talking about some deep betrayals, letting out, deep secrets that can be embarrassing.
That's right.
Or shameful, or.
And how about the family member that wants to embarrass someone else by saying, if you only knew.
Right, exactly.
What so-and-so did.
Exactly.
This is common.
Very common. Or another one I see that is really common is, this person now is an adult, and they've made their career and they have a decent life. And then everybody wants to keep reminding everyone in their world, oh, they can't really be that good because they've done this, this, and this, and this one, and they were a liar, or they were a cheater, or they were whatever, and trying to decredit this person who's worked really hard in their life.
No wonder people move away from their families.
That's why that happens.
Yeah.
Because, and then a lot of family has this unspoken rule that I can do whatever I want and you have to stay in relationship with me.
Yeah. Hence the title, When to Let Go.
Hence the title, When to Let Go.
Which we don't even have time to get into that aspect of it right now.
No.
But there are situations where you should let go.
Absolutely. There are many situations.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'll probably put a good list together this week.
Because
there really are a lot of situations when letting go is absolutely appropriate and necessary.
Necessary. Let's do that. Let's talk about that in detail next week, because I believe that people walk around a lot of times with such guilt if they have stopped talking to their mother, let's say. Your mother? Are you kidding? She birthed you. But sometimes there are dynamics, people, where you need to take a break from your mother.
Of course, or whoever, right?
Right.
And you see that, and then you see people, social media really feeds into this a lot. And then you'll see people post, oh, always be kind to your mother. It's the only one you'll ever have. And when she's gone, you'll, whatever. But no, not all, sometimes we don't have to be mean to someone and not want us to be mean, but we don't need to be in relationship with people when it's toxic and harmful and negative, when it's hurting us to that kind of degree. We have to stop it.
So I think what we're saying tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, is, when I say that, I don't expect you to correct me.
I know.
Right?
I got you.
Okay. But what we're saying is that there are so many times that a situation merits an action that we seem too timid to do.
Correct. Or we feel people guilt us, and when we try to do that, oh, how could you not talk to your father, your mother, your sibling, your aunt, your grandma, whoever? Oh, they could die any minute. How will you feel then? And so then they're trying to project, that guilt and shame onto this person who has been hurt.
But the person who caused the problem, let's say, and who is gossiping and lying and whatever, they don't care.
No.
They don't care.
They do not.
And so people that are trying to have a decent relationship with the troublemaker, let's call that person, the troublemaker is just sitting over there in a corner kind of laughing about the whole thing in their own way, right?
Sure.
Not outright laughing, but
right, but
like
they know what
they know what they've done.
Yeah.
And they know that the person they've offended and hurt is having a hard time with it, and they don't care.
No, there's no compassion.
That's my experience through the years.
And I think somewhere in their minds, a lot of the times, they've justified their action and that other person deserved it because of fill in the blank in there. And, and when you're talking about perspective, like everything we experience is through our perspective. So it can get very skewed. I mean, so we build narratives in our heads of things that may have never really happened or isn't true, because that's just how we are as humans. And so at the end of the day, yeah, that happens all the time. Or my favorite one is when family member, we'll stay with families for a second. This family member hurt this other family member tremendously. And then, they might not talk to them, but then all of a sudden we're going to, a week goes by, now we're talking, and nobody ever talked about the hurt.
That. No.
We have ignored it, thrown it under the rug, and we just keep going. And guess what? Down the road, what comes back up? Another hurt to that degree, right? And we just compound these.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I have some of those personal memories of people, family members acting out in very violent ways. And then everybody goes to dinner 3 hours later and doesn't even talk about the gun that was pulled.
Yep.
Doesn't even discuss the fact that somebody held a gun to somebody's head.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I've lived that. Okay, it wasn't to my head.
Right.
But I walked into the situation as a young married person and really? This is normal behavior?
Mm-hmm.
You've just held a gun to somebody's head? And now we are 3 hours later sitting and eating mashed potatoes and fried chicken in a restaurant? And nobody said a word about that? Now we're all talking like nothing ever happened?
Yeah. Not okay.
I mean, I was traumatized at age 20 over this.
I bet you were.
I was. And it was not one incident either. It was several through the years. And when that happened, I was like, whoa, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I didn't grow up like that. I don't understand this behavior. And yet what happens is the person that is seeing it and whoa, this is bizarre, begins to think, well, maybe this is how a lot of people live. Maybe they're normal, but it's not okay.
No.
That's the opposite of dealing with something. It's sweeping it under the carpet and let's go have dinner.
Exactly. And so many families
no
and
apologies.
relationships do this.
No acknowledgement about the gun to the head. And I'm not just using that as a metaphor, guys. This actually happened. Okay. And nobody says anything about that. And you drive in silence, and then it's now silence is broken, everybody's chit-chatting, and everything's fine again.
But that's not, but everything
and I'm talking
isn't
about
fine.
it this many years later.
Right, and it's that significant.
Because it's still significant in me.
But here's the thing, everything isn't fine when we're doing that. And it is traumatizing, and it is scary, and it feels... it's unpredictable. You feel like you're on eggshells. You don't know what's happening next.
Eggshells, yes, huge
Absolutely.
eggshells.
And so that dynamic, is very destructive. And so there's a lot of family dysfunction and dysfunctional families or dysfunctional family members, and people feel guilted through either tradition, culture, religion to stay in relationship with these toxic family members. Because we share a bloodline or a last name.
I had no idea. Of course, guys, we don't plan these shows most of the time. This is another Wing It special. You called me and said, let's talk about forgiveness.
Yes,
and
I did.
That was the extent of the planning for this show. This is the stuff that just pours out of us. And I believe when it does, it's more helpful than if it were planned a lot, because we're just talking out of our experience and our expertise. Wow.
Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing, because that's a really important, significant event for you, but I think it will help others to hear this stuff happens and it's not okay, because there are other people going through very similar things just like that.
And when you're just newly married and you're young and the future's ahead and everything looks great, and then you're traumatized like that, and then that's only the first of many, then it does something to you.
Sure. Really
so we're going to get into more nitty gritty, I believe, next week on this topic. When do you let go?
Yes.
Wow. We want to hear from you, and you can put questions or comments right on the Facebook post, and we will try our best to answer them next week, or Dr. Angel will respond to the Facebook post and answer you. And that's what we want to do. And don't forget to share this YouTube video. And so you've got 2 minutes to wrap up, Dr. Angel.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back, and I want to close with the definition I started with. What is forgiveness? Psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision, it's purposeful, to release feelings of resentment or vengeance or anger towards a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness.
Okay.
And forgiveness is about you,
Yeah.
not the offender.
We're going to get into that more next week. So you got to make sure and make a note on your calendar to listen to part 2 here of Go Yard.
Absolutely. We'll have we'll have a good list of what types of relationships we need to let go of.
Okay.
When to let go.
So it's going to be more nitty gritty than even tonight, which was an intro evidently to a series.
Yes,
How about
it was.
that? That's how these series are born.
Just born.
So you have 45 seconds to wrap up.
So I just want to say, this is a great time I challenge our listeners to take inventory. What angers, what resentment, what hurts, what are you holding on to? Start taking inventory of that.
Very good. Dr. Angel Falzoni can be reached at 727-501-6557 or go to drangelsdevelopment.org. You can even schedule appointments right there.
.com.
And .com. And yes, the practice is growing, and it's not just her anymore. And God is blessing. So we're glad you've joined us tonight on Go Yard. Catch more of these shows. Tell friends about them. And we're going to be right back here, God willing, and the creek don't rise next Thursday night at 6 p.m. This has been
Dr. Angel.
You know who you are
I
tonight.
do.
And Mama Mac bringing you Go Yard. See you next week.
Good night.